Hello and shalom. This is Jay Rivka Asulin, founder and executive director of Ancient Roots Israel. Ancient Roots Israel is the first international herbal conference and community here in Israel. Our last conference, our first annual conference, was great. Our next conference is scheduled for January 26th through 28th, 2021. Today, I want to give you a bit of a behind the scenes, which is something we haven't done before. I'm playing with a plant in my hands right now. I'm going to show it to you in a second, but sometimes I'm afraid that I give off the impression that I have some kind of expertise in identifying plants, like I have this encyclopedic knowledge in my head. Polly, do you mind helping them? And I don't. I'm just a normal person, a normal human being who, like everybody else, knew absolutely nothing about the plants when I was born, and actually started learning about plant ID as an adult. And while it's true that after you devote your time year after year to the plants, you might get a bit faster or a bit savvier or be able to make the connections in your head faster, it's not because I have any incredible magical skills or anything. Herbal medicine is people's medicine, is what I'm trying to say. And it's very easy in today's day and age, utilizing the internet as well as book sources, to get a good positive ID on a plant. I always remind you to get at least 3 sources, cross-reference at least 3 reputable sources to ID your plant. Sometimes I check 10 to 30 sources depending on what I'm using it for and how complicated the plant is to ID. So let's go into the garden today and have a look at the process of plant ID. Okay, so we are weeding today. There's Pele, and the wild weed herb garden got really wild. This is, if I can show you, perspective. A huge pile of lemongrass. Lemon verbena, Louisa. There it is now. We're trimming it down. Our poor Rosemary has had a near-death experience, but is coming back. Anyway, I came out because I saw this amaranth here. I don't really know what kind of amaranth it is. I know that for amaranth, the leaves are likely edible and the seeds. And I don't even know if these seeds are ready. But I was going to try and shake a little bit into a jar just to see. Oh yeah. Just gently shaking it around. I don't even know if we're doing the right thing, but I'm going to go look up some videos and see if what we're doing makes any sense. In there, let's see if those are seeds or what they are. But yeah, we're going to try to identify. That's some prickly lettuce. Prickly lettuce is everywhere right now. But we're going to try to identify this amaranth. So the first thing I did was made notice of the unusual markings, this white marking on the leaves. So I'm going to be searching that. I put my app Seek on it just to kind of see if I could narrow down the species that way. But I couldn't. It could get as far as an amaranth, but not any farther. So let's see what we can find. Okay, so it didn't take too long.
Look at this guy.
Basically, I started taking a good look at what I was dealing with and looking at this amaranth, and I searched amaranth with a white stripe. It wasn't turning up anything. I was turning up this amaranth with red. That's called Chinese spinach. So I did another search for amaranth in Israel, and right away turned up this pigweed, which has the exact same markings on the leaves. So I've now confirmed from 2 sources that I'm dealing with amaranth, although I only have one with the exact species. So now I'm going to go looking at that Latin name that I found from that search and start searching it and get other pictures and careful and other identifying characteristics just to make sure that I have the right thing. So this is how you learn about a new plant when you see one.
See, guys?
It's not rocket science. I realize that, you know, if anyone thought I was an expert, I'm not. I'm just a normal human being who
Mommy, I just want a baby praying mantis.
Wow, here, well, you found a baby praying mantis on your laptop?
It's cutie.
Wait, come back. I didn't see that.
Can I see? Can I see? It's my little guy.
Here, hang on.
Oh, so cute. He's a baby praying mantis, though. I should probably put him on a branch before that's top.
Good idea. Okay, so I just wanted to show you a little behind the scenes about how this is done and how an herbalist finds out about the plants. Now, I can go as deep as I want into the plants to make sure that I have the right ID. I can, you know, get a magnifying glass out and start keying out these little flowers. I'm kind of like holding the amaranth right now, you know, and just make sure and find lookalikes. I can go as deep as I want. I can look up 10 sources. I can look up 20 sources. I can look up 30 sources. But it's so easy today just to hop on the internet. I don't even need a field guide or a book, although that would have been really helpful too, to have an English field guide in English for Israel. But Bezrat Hashem, we're trying to sort that out. If you want to be part of that, send me a private message. We have a WhatsApp group for that. And yeah, just a little behind the scenes there. Okay, so now a lot of my research happens when I'm just kind of sitting down or laying down with the kids and looking up different sources. So at this point, I've looked up probably about 15 sources so far, just to make sure that the plant pictures match, the shape matches, the location matches, the country. And I was able to identify that really, really quickly. There are some good Israeli sources out there that can zero right in on Amaranth in Israel. But why did I keep going? Why did I keep looking at other sources? Well, I wanted to know about its edibility. So, edibility. Did I make that word up? I don't know. But is it edible? And if so, what are the possible restrictions? So I kept finding over and over that amaranth plants are typically edible, which is what I learned and what you remember me saying in the earlier video when I first kind of said, oh, here's an amaranth. But one thing that it took me 15 sources to get through, and that's why I took a little pause and am making this video right now, is that apparently if it's grown on an area, or it's typically a weed, so if it's a weed in an area that has been sprayed or has any kind of waste product in it, inorganic matter, the nitrate level can be very, very high, and that's implicated in a lot of problems, including cancer. So it's really important to eat amaranth only where you know it hasn't been sprayed and where it's organic. Now, this is growing in my wild wheat garden. We don't spray it. So I do know that it's safe to eat, but it took me 15 sources to get that piece of information. Everything else said safe to eat, safe to eat. Typically, you know, this particular one definitely safe to eat, but most amaranths are safe to eat. But the more sources I check, that's where I find these little nuggets. And it's worth it to me to go through that so that I can really understand the plant. So here's an amaranth. The only thing I knew about amaranth is that you could buy the seeds. I didn't know anything about it as a wild green. Now I know from different sources that it's used in Hindi cuisine and in African cuisine all around the world, which makes a lot of sense since it clearly appears to be native here in Israel. Okay, so I haven't used it medicinally. I don't have any experience with this, okay? Unlike some of the other plants that I've talked with you about where I've used them. I've used them to heal myself, my family, and my community. I've used them for many, many years, perhaps decades. And so I have all that knowledge in my head that I've amassed over the years. But I don't have that about every plant on earth. Nobody possibly could. So when I approach a new plant, those are the types of things I'm looking for and why I look up so many sources. So I wanted to see about medicinal uses. Medicinal uses, and again, I don't feel comfortable talking about the medicinal uses until I've seen in multiple sources, I've cross-referenced those medicinal uses. Unless there's a medicinal use that was mentioned in one place and nowhere else, and I felt that it was noteworthy. In this situation, the fact that it's a vermifuge seems to be quite popular. And should be interesting to anyone who's interested in dealing with internal parasites. But some of the other things that came up multiple times were inflammation in the urethra, during urination, and also the high nutrition content that's been mentioned over and over, very similar to spinach. I'm trying to think of other medicinal uses that popped out. Other ones that you see very often that may be true or may be kind of generalized, like a blood cleanser, this sort of thing. Also, you have to make sure, even if you put in the Latin name and the article you pull up is using the Latin name of your particular species of amaranth, they might be throwing in information about other amaranths. So I learned about red pigweed is the common name that has like a red latex or sap when you break it apart. Clearly not the one that I have, but some uses that has, particularly in relation to the blood. So kind of interesting, and through those pieces of information, I'll probably do a little bit more research still just from me. But what I started doing then is putting together pieces of a puzzle and storing it in my brain. So now I've got amaranths. I know that I've got these different, they're commonly called pigweeds. They're typically edible no matter what kind you have. The more immature leaves are considered the most palatable, although the plant overall is considered a very mild plant. I haven't tasted it myself. I'll go do that right now with you. But I start putting together a picture in my head that will help me better identify if I see a plant that looks similar, obviously, then I'll go, oh, that looks kind of like an amaranth. Or, oh, I saw pictures of this amaranth that has kind of red in it. That seemed to be a common type of amaranth. And then I'll know exactly where to go to look up my next sources. So I guess we're kind of doing a video right now about this amaranth plant. And since I've given you the medicinal and edible uses, I think I've covered everything. But I tried to incorporate a bit of the background. I'll walk outside right now and do the tasting with you. I just wanted to incorporate a little bit of that background about how I do it for plants that I don't know. Why? Because I want to instill in all of us that we never stop learning. So it would be very easy for me to say, I'm just going to go to the plants that I know really, really well and I'm working a long time with and I have lots of information about and they make me look really good. But that's not so great because we will run out of those plants pretty quickly. And it's important to keep learning and keep bringing in knowledge. And it's exciting. It's just an exciting process to do that. And I want to share that with all of you and let you know how simple and easy it is and how you don't need like extra special brain cells or a botany degree or anything like that to do this. I've been watching this herbalist and she puts out some videos and she says on her videos, you are smart enough to do this. You're smart enough to identify a plant and learn how to use it. So anyway, I'm going to flip the camera right now. And we are back with our amaranth. And what it says is that the younger, more tender leaves, so here we've got a very young leaf, and it talks about it should be just barely lime green. So you can see this one is a little bit lighter, I guess, and the other one's next to it. I'm really interested in this white line, which I haven't found a lot of. Not all the leaves have it. Here's an example of some that don't. Some do, and this is all from the exact same plant. So, I'm just going to pick off a few leaves. Now, what I learned is that many people eat this as a cooked vegetable or boiled. I'll take one with the white, or maybe the white is a sign of aging. Let's see if I can find here's a smaller one that has the white on it. I'm going to keep hunting with my eyes for one that looks tasty. Here, maybe that one that has some white on it. Okay, so I'm going to say it's faint, but it's there. Okay, so at any rate, it seems that you can eat these raw, although I would need to do more research. I mean, I have my at least 3 sources saying you can eat these raw, but to see how most people are eating them, it appears that they are typically cooked. Every part can be used, it looks like. There was some question about the stem maybe being too tough to eat, but a more tender stem might be better, and that you can eat the flowers, and the flowers usually last a very long time, and the seeds are easy to harvest. I'm still not so sure if what we have are the seeds in here, although I did learn that the seeds are somewhat gelatinous, and you can make a pudding by soaking them in liquid, maybe milk or water or something like this. Again, I'm still in the early stages of that. But how it would typically come out in a normal video was I would read all that material, and I would say, okay, I would just take the best parts, the parts I feel are most salient, and share those with you. And it just kind of comes out that way. But I have filtered all the material for you, and that's not so great because I'm just one source. I'm one soundbite, even though I have my 15 sources behind me, right? Or however many I have at that time. But my hope is that you won't just take my word for it. And once I tell you about a plant, you'll go and you'll look into it more. So part 1 is, just going out to your garden and saying like, oh, great, I have amaranth here, and being willing to try it and develop a relationship with it and whatever. But part of it is the, if you want to go deeper, you don't have to. You can go as deep as you want, as deep as you want. You can get all the fancy names. Here's the backside of it for why I feel the ridges of the veining back here so intensively, or, whatever other botanical things excite you, or why it has the Latin name that it has. Ooh, that's pretty, isn't it? Okay. Or you can just taste them and enjoy. So, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri adama. Oh, wow. That's delicious. It has again, you taste the tannins there, but it's got a fresh kind of pea, garden pea or snow pea or something, crispness to it and taste to it. It's been described as really, really mild, and I would definitely say it's mild, but it has a lovely, lovely fresh taste. It's a bit thick as a leaf, like I'm feeling it go down. So, while I think some of these tossed into a salad or whatever would be great, I understand why people would wilt them or cook them in some way first. But they're really tasty. I really, really like them. That's my first time trying amaranth with you. I get to share it with you. So, yeah, I think, outside of the seed research that I might look into some more and let you know how that goes, I hope that this has inspired you to, I'm going to grab some more. I'll feast on that when I'm done with this video. I hope that this inspires you as well, not only to get out into your green spaces and your wild weed gardens, but to host one of these virtual plant walks yourself, or guest teach on one of these virtual plant walks. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to be somebody who's curious, who sees a plant and says, I want to know what that is, and who's willing to take the time to look up some different sources and sit with it. From looking at the plant, if I have an idea what the plant is when we start, this goes much faster. If I don't, it can take much longer. But you minimum, I think, 30 minutes of work going into each class or each lesson. And anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear your process. We want to see what you looked at. Where our algorithms on Google are all different, and my go-to pages are going to be different than someone else's. you can do this. You can do this. And we need to do it because herbal medicine is people's medicine. This medicine is, it's nourishment, it's food, it's medicine, and it's right here all over. If you're in a big city, if you're, have a lot of land, it doesn't matter. There is nourishment and abundance direct from the source, provided for all of us to make us well and to heal any ailment. As we say in Judaism, the cure is given before the ailment by our Creator. So let's continue learning together and not have fear. This is our birthright.